this. Alright, so we're going to work with arrays. What I've done, I've just in any case used this 2D array program of ours that we worked on, and then I'm just going to go to button 4.4 where we did the, I think this was to get the totals and then the biggest one. So I'm just using this one, but at the end I'm just going to say array revision. So I'm going to use this program, but then I'm just going to use these arrays that we've already created here, the row total array. And to maybe use that for whatever reason. Maybe it's good if we've got two. I'm maybe going to create just a... Oh, but we've got row totals. And we've got the provinces array. Yes, the provinces also for each row. Right, so we can just use... So what I'm going to use for this to not... Yes. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to work with two arrays. So we're going to work with the row total array and we're going to work with our provinces array. So that worked out the row total, so we'll just leave that there. Then what I'm doing, I'm just going to quickly take out this biggest part. Just to... Alright, so what we're going to work with is, let's say we wanted to display the provinces with the totals. So do you agree? We're working with one-dimensional arrays. So we're going to have our for loop. And we're going to start at 1. There's 9 elements in the arrays. And then in our array display, in our lines, add, we're just going to show our what is this array called for the provinces? Our provinces. Our provinces at I, and we're gonna add a -9 for the tab, and what is the R total? Row total. I, but remember this is an integer, so we just do our int to string. Alright, so I just quickly wanted to display these things, and let's just do our IQ for clear. So just to show you, just so that we're all on track what we're doing here, this is going to be our base arrays we're working with, because generally you will never just get one array. It will always be like an array type of thing. So we're working with the provinces array and then the number of disasters each. So we're working with these two arrays. Alright, so our first one. So we're going to start with that's the base. Alright, let's do sort first. So there can be two ways of sorting it. We can either sort it by province or by row totals. Let's start with the province one. Let's say we wanted to sort it alphabetically and display the provinces alphabetically with their row totals, so with their disaster. Who wants to give me an idea? How would we do that? Any ideas? Nobody knows. Alright. So alright, so what is our basically our I want to say our structure for a sort? Yes, good correction, good guess. Yes. So maybe before we do that, so for sort, it is our for if. Later on, when we do a delete, the delete is the for if for. It's nice if you know the structure because it just helps you to just get it done a little bit quicker. So we do our for, we do our next for, j, and all right, so that's what I would do. Then just make sure your I and your j is created. So we're going to need our j. Right. All right, so our arrays start at 1. So our first for loop goes from 1 to where? Second. All right, so the first for loop is the I for loop. So it will go from 1 up until actually 1 less than the number of elements. So if you had 9, it can go to 8. Just forgive me if I cough every now and again. I'm a little bit sick and I'm going to try to mute, but if I forget. All right. So it goes up until 1 less than the number of elements. But if you forget that and you just put a 9, that is fine. If you put an 8, for efficiency, this is the better one. But if you're not too sure, if you leave it a 9, that is fine. But because of efficiency, I'm just going to add the -1. So obviously you can put an 8, but sometimes you've got a counter. So then just remember it's your counter -1. Then our J for loop, where does that one start? Yes. And again with this one, if you're not too sure about the +1, you can leave it out. If you start at I, that's also fine. The +1 is for efficiency. So rather just the I than by mistake putting the -1 there or the +1 there. Don't swap these two around. Some people swap it around. That actually breaks your program. Then it's better to go without. But yeah, and then this one will go up until where? Okay, so this one goes to 9. So just remember our I for loop goes from 1 less than the total. The J one starts at I +1, but it will go to the range of the array. Then in our if statement, this is now where we need to compare. So we want to sort by province. So how can we now compare our provinces to each other? They're strings. Anybody got an idea? To see alphabetically which one would be before which one? Anybody? All right, so we can just compare them. Yes. Oh, yes. So the sign doesn't actually matter. Choose any sign after you run it, then you can just see if you want to swap it around or not. But generally, your greater than is alphabetical and smaller than is reverse alphabetical. So this one should be fine. All right, now on the inside here, we have to do our swap. So once we help us with the swap. Yeah, so we need a temp for string. And we need a temp I integer I temp temp. All right. Okay, so we've got an I temp and an S temp. So what do I write here? Okay. Okay. Yes. So what we do is we basically put the array provinces at position I, we put in the temp, so we're keeping it safe somewhere. So position I is technically open. So then we can take the value that's in position J, put that into I, so now J, position J is technically open. Then we can take that temporary one we had and put that into position J. So that swapped the provinces. So are we sorted now? Is that all we needed to do? Okay, so do I need to do something more here? If I want. Yes. So remember, because what will happen now? I didn't print it. So just, I want to suggest you can do the display inside there somewhere. I wouldn't advise it. Finish it and do the display afterwards. It's going to make your life just better. All right, so let's just see. So if we didn't do that, if we just ended off there, see what happened with the first group. So Eastern Cape is 14, Free State's 9. Gauteng 10, KwaZulu-Natal. Was this already sorted? It was already sorted. Okay, let's say we wanted to sort it reverse alphabetical. Alright, so the original looked like this. Let's look at like Northwest has got 20 problems. Now, Northwest has got 10. Yeah, Free State at 9. Now Northern Cape's got 9. See, so now each province, the number of disasters in that province is not lining up. So that's a problem. So that's why they call it linked arrays. So when you do something with a one array, you have to do it with the other one as well. So once we swap the provinces, even though we're only sorting by provinces, that's why the if is provinces. But when you do the swap, it's always all of the arrays that are linked together. So we just have to do our itemp as well with our row. So we can put the I value into temp, and then the row at I can get the row J, then the row at J, the row total at J can get our item. So we just have to also swap the rows. Sort reverse. Okay, I'm just going to sort it reverse alphabetical so that we can actually see the difference. Alright, so that was sorting by province. Let's say we wanted to sort by we wanted to sort by the number of disasters. What would we change in the end? Let's say we want to sort it from small to big. What would we change in here? Would the structure be the same? Yes. All right, so I went to copy paste. So now we're going to sort from small to big. Sorted by disasters. All right. So what do we change? Would we change what would we change about the structure part? Would we change anything? Do you agree? These first two for loops are the same because the size of the arrays are the same. Nothing changed. The only difference is now we don't want to look at the province to the side. We want to look at the row total, I, and our row total, J. And now for this one, because you want to go from small to big, that's ascending, we can use our greater than sign. And that's literally the only thing that changes. Once you sort by something else, you just change your arrays. And if you want to change this one was reverse alphabetical or descending, so it was a smaller than. This one is small to big, so that's ascending. So for this one, you'll use greater than. Our display also looks exactly the same. So now when we run this, you'll see this was our original. Then we went reverse alphabetical. And now sorted by disasters from small to big. You'll see Free State's 9, Gauteng 10, and then all the rest from there. We'll see KwaZulu-Natal was the 20, and Northwest was the other 20. So that's sorted according to disasters. And that's all with your sort. So if you can remember, your sort always go for if. It's going to make your life better. Your two for loops. First one starts at 1, and it goes to 1 less than the number of elements in your arrays. Your J1 starts at I, but preferably I plus 1, just so it starts at this next one. And will always go to the number of elements. So if you want to leave out that -1 and that +1, that's perfect. If you left that out, it would work exactly the same. The only problem, not a problem, but the only negative to this is your CPU will do some more calculations or comparisons that's not required. So in this case, it would actually compare the last number to himself. And with this one, it would compare the first number to himself. So it will compare row total 1 with row total 1. And it goes, so you're doing one additional calculation per 9. So you actually do 9 extra ones, and the same with this one. It will compare the last one 9 times, also with himself. So you're just doing additional iterations, but it will work exactly the same thing. This is for your ascending or descending. You just change that one value. And then this is by what you want to sort. And on the inside, it will always be 3 lines for each array you've got that's linked. So we've got the province that's linked with the row totals. So we've got 3 for each of them. And then just display after all of the ends. And maybe with this, when you do the swap, a nice check, look on the left-hand side. It is the temp, then array provinces I, then array provinces J. So it changed. Not one of them is the same. And on the right-hand side, it's array provinces I, array provinces J, and then S temp. So also not the same. Sometimes some people, like by mistake, put an I in there as well. But then if you see I've got an I and an I both on the right-hand side, then you must know one of them is wrong. You'll never have 2 of the same pointer value on the right-hand side when you're doing a swap. All right, and that's our sort. Any questions on sort? We good? Alright, good. Alright, then I'm gonna leave. Yes, please ask me. Yes, only linked arrays. Alright, so that was our sort. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove this sort part, just comment it out. And then our next step, what we want to look at now is our search. Alright, so let's look for a province. Alright, let's say we're looking for a specific province. So generally how this would work is, for the search, you'll have to ask the user first, which one are you looking for? So we'll have let's use the stemp. How do I ask the user for something? Input box. Yeah, so I'm getting confused with these things. All right, input box, and then we just ask him for, let's say, which province. All right, now we know which province he wants to look for. So who's got an idea? For linked arrays, what would our structure for a search be? A search and a change basically has the same structure. And that's just a for and if. So for this, because we just need our for loop to just go through the array. Remember, our array starts at 1, and we've got 9 elements to begin. All right, so that would just loop through the array for us. And now we're looking for this province. So it's just an if from here. So now just if our stemp is equal to our array province die. So this part that I've done here, this search is what we use for search and a change and a delete actually. Because with a change, you also have to search first for the one you want to change and then you can change it. And with a delete, you have to search first for the one you want to delete and then you can delete it. So there's a search happens with both of them. You'll see with the delete structure we've already done. We set for if for, because this first for and if is actually the search part. Now, once you found the one, a search displays it, a change would change it, and a delete would delete it. So that's sort of what we want to do. Okay, in this case, if we just do a search, then most probably at this stage, then we'll just do a normal, maybe display it. So then we can show that particular province with his disaster. And that's what a search does. Input box. What else does the input box need? All right. So it was. This actually goes there. And this could be search. So it's the top part and the question and then the default value. Let's say one of the provinces is, to make our life easier, let's choose Limpopo. All right. All right, so now to ask which province are we looking for? We're looking for Limpopo. and then it would show the Limpopo stuff for us. Limpopo 18. Yeah. So that's what our search does. Just take this out also. Yeah. Okay, any questions on this one? So let's search for province. Obviously, if we want to search for a disaster amount, then we can still search, and then we can ask for number of disasters. Let's say 20. So now it will type in the number of disasters. So then we want to compare that with our row total, still display that, but then the only thing is we need to change this string to an integer. Okay, so this is now if we wanted to ask him for a specific disaster and we wanted to know that. So let's just see. So see, it's exactly the same thing, still input, same structure. Let's see. All right, so if we look for Limpopo, they didn't display that. Okay, yeah. Number of disasters is 20, then you'll see KwaZulu-Natal and Northwest, both got 20 disasters. Take out this one. All right, so that's our searches. So just quick recap again. If we look for a province, we'll just ask for the province, loop through the array. Whenever that province is the one we're looking for is equal to the array, then we display it. Just remember with these ones on the inner loop, it's always your for loop variable. So a common mistake, if you've got a counter to say how many you've got, some people love to put a counter in here. So let's say you've got a Q or an N that you're using for how many elements is in the array. Some people love to put a Q or the N in there. Okay, that would break it actually. Just remember these ones by your if and in your display is always the is always your for loop variable. And then the same when we want to look for the disaster, we'll ask for the disaster number, make it an integer, put it into our integer variable. Still same thing, loop through the whole thing, loop through your arrays. In our if, now we just compare the disaster number we're looking for to our row total, so just the correct variable, arrays variable, and then we just display that one. So let's just see this will look a bit better now. So the search province, Limpopo is 18. If we look for disasters of 20, these two is disasters of 20. Right. Any questions on search? Right. So with the search, I'm going to keep this part. So I'm going to just comment this out for us. So next one, let's look at the change. So change, as I told you, the change also, you sort of follow. So let's say we want to change the disaster. It just makes sense. So they're going to give us the province and they want to change that disaster to a new value. Let's say the number of disasters should be something else. So how this works, we still have to look for that province. So that same step goes the same. We can still clear just because. Then we ask you, which province are you looking for? So this is for our change button. So which province do you want to change? Let's stick with Limpopo as a default. You still for loop through. You still have your if looking for that one. So it's our normal search. Nothing changed. The only difference is on the inside, what we do is, let's see here, before change. So just to see what it is before it changed. So now they could ask us, maybe they want to ask us or tell us that the user will give us the new value here. Right, so what we do, we're going to ask the user for the disasters. So now our row total at I will get the value of a string to int, and we input box this, and we change, we're asking what is the number of disasters, and for argument's sake it's 50. So what this would do now, this is going to change this row total from what it was to this new value that we type in. And then maybe we want to just display it again just to show how it changed. So before change and then after, just so that we can see what happened. So generally that row and that row might not be there. So just do this. Do a normal search. Once you find the one, you just give it a new value. But now for us, just so that we can see what happens, we're going to do a display there and we're going to do a display here. Right, so click this, do that. So it's going to ask which one do we want to change. Let's say Limpopo. Limpopo was 18. Let's say we want to make it 25 now. And there. So now it's Limpopo is 25. So you'll see, okay, we can see it there now. Yeah, so Limpopo is 50. All right. Any questions on this? If we wanted to change the province, it would be so we could have had so change. So let's say the province's name changed. Okay, new government said Limpopo or whichever, some province must be called something new. The new minister's name or the best teacher's name. Let's say something like that. So what they'll do is, let's clear it still. STEM will ask them, okay, which province do you want to change? Still Limpopo. And then so then we don't need to worry about that. But now in here, we're going to have our array province at I is going to get a new input with change. And then we're going to say new name. Let's just say EHS. All right. And then let's not worry about that for now. And let's just do a normal display. Just want to grab this normal display again. So then after this, we just do a normal display that just displays everything. So now what we're doing, we're asking him, which province name do you want to change? Then we loop through the array, looking for the province with that name. Once we found it, we give that province the new name. And then we'll display it all again. So you'll see it's exactly the same steps we followed. So that's that, that's that. And now we want to do this. Which province we want to change? Limpopo. Oh, this is the original one. I don't know if this is the numbers one. Now, which province do you want to change? Limpopo. The new name, let's call it EHS. And there you'll see Limpopo is now EHS. and it's total of 50 because remember we changed it with that first run through. Because we still left this one here. This one changed the number to 50, and then we changed the name to EHS. All right, everybody good? All right, then let's go to the third friend. So search has got two other friends. Search is friends with change, and then is also friends with delete. So delete is same steps. So let's just follow this. All right, so with a change, with a delete, we're still going to do our clear. There's a normal display afterwards so that you can see what happened. All right, then what happens here is we're going to ask him, which province do you want to delete? Delete which province? Let's delete Limpopo. So our for loop from 1 to 9, we're going to look for the provinces. Once we find that province, the only thing is now we don't want to change it or display it. We actually want to remove it. And that's why our delete has got a for if for structure. So there's another for here. Because what we want to do here is we actually want to move them all up one. So let's see. Okay, let's change this so we had. Let's just put 9 there for now. Just want to see that we've got the idea. So we've got these ones. So our problem here is, so we've got the 9 provinces, but we want to remove Limpopo. So when we want to remove that, we basically want to move Mpumalanga must move up 1, Northern Cape must move up 1, Northwest must move up 1, and Western Cape must move up 1, and then the bottom line needs to be gone. Do you agree? So these bottom 4 needs to all move up 1. So that's what we want to do now. So this for loop, who wants to take a guess? Where does it start? So this inner loop, this is for the moving up. Where do we want to start moving up? Position I. Because remember I just showed you now, if we want to delete Limpopo, all the ones underneath Limpopo needs to move up 1. So we can start at I, and then where do we want to end? Yes, 9 minus 1. So we want to stop just 1 before the end. Alright, now how do we do this move up? So do you agree? I is the Limpopo one. So we want to sort of take the next one and put it in his place. So what do I write in here? How do I take the next one and move it up 1? What do I put in here? Yes. And what do I put at the end? Yes. So now I'm just important with this one. Some people would think, let's put I in here because I've got for loop I there. But you always go with your innermost loop. So this is your for J. It's the J for loop we're busy with here. So your array provinces at J will get the value of array provinces of J plus 1. So we're taking the next one and putting it in the previous one spot. So am I done, or do I need to also do something else? Alright, remember we removed the province name, but we didn't remove the total yet. That row total must also disappear. So our row total at J must get the value of our row total at J plus 1. So the same as with the sort, Whatever you do with the one array, you must just also do with the other array on the inner loop. We've got two arrays working together, that's why we've got 2 here. If we had 3 linked arrays, all 3 of them would be here. And it's always the array at j gets the value of array at j plus 1. So if we had a counter, you would decrease counter here. Decrement counter here. Okay, but in this case, so it's not an ideal example because we've got a fixed 9 provinces. Odds of one province getting away is very limited. So we don't actually have a counter because we work to the fixed value of 9. But if you had a counter, then you would decrement it there because you removed 1. So if you had a counter for 9, it needed to become 8 because 1 was removed. So when we display, you will just display with that new counter, which is now 8. So the new counter value. Alright, let's see how this works. Oh, they didn't show us actually, but okay. So which province do we want to delete? Limpopo. See, now when you look at this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 provinces, and Limpopo is gone. So we always pick on Limpopo, but let me just use Free State. So if you click this one again, oh no, can't do it again. So we just read again, put this in, and now I'm going to remove Free State. Remember, Free State had 9 disasters. So okay, now Free State's gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, wait. Oh, it's because we didn't want to restart. Okay, sorry. We have to start it over, otherwise, because Limpopo was already deleted. So, and remember, we just made it to 8. There was the counter, so that's why the last one was just repeated. So let's only delete Free State. That's good. So Free State's gone, Limpopo is still there. All sorted. Alright, that's our delete. Any questions on that? So I want to say sort isn't that difficult, but sort's very important in that I think odds of you getting a sort is quite good. They love doing a sort. Change, not necessarily a search, probably. Like you saw, we even had a search in this program. There was a search. So search you also need to know, generally easy. Delete is most probably your most difficult type of algorithm to know. But also again, I think it's something you might get. If they ask for linked arrays, you might actually get a delete. But it's a 50-50 chance. Delete doesn't always come out, but it is one of the more difficult ones. But if you know the structure, ask which one to delete. Then you've got your for if for. First for loop, I1 to 9. Then if the one you're looking for is equal to your array, so this is our normal search, then the only thing is you need the other for to move everything up 1. And there's our moving up. And if there was a counter, you'll decrement it there. And you'll use your counter there. So then that would be fixed. These are the generic algorithms. The only other one that there might be is maybe an add. Let's say another province got added to this. But then the province arrays will also not work actually. We can probably make it a 10 to give the opportunity for an add. I wonder if this would work. I think this is going to be a problem maybe. Yes, because we made it 10, it's looking for 10. No. Okay, so I'm not going to do add. But yeah, alright, so add is in any case straightforward. You just pass the value, put it into at the end, and just increment your counter by 1. It's literally all you do. All right, then what we did do last time with this program is we looked for the biggest one. So just remember what we did to look for the highest one. We actually assumed the first one is the biggest. Then we made a for loop to go from 1 to 9. Then we compared each value to the biggest one. And as soon as we got a bigger value, then we gave that value to biggest. So biggest kept track of which is the biggest one at the end. And then at the end, we just displayed that value. So that was our biggest one. Then if we wanted to know the province that had the biggest, we basically just did a search for that value. So just for 1 to 9, then if our array is equal to the biggest, then we just display that province. So other important algorithms to know for arrays is just to calculate like average and total and stuff like that. So biggest and smallest we've basically done now. So let's say we want the total also, and let's do average also, average, but remember average might be decimal places, so let's use double for it. All right, so who wants to help me? If I want to know the total of all of the disasters, I want to know like the grand total, that's how many disasters there are. Okay, so I created a total variable. So what do I say? Let's use total. Yes. Okay, so remember that's very important. When you're using these variables you created, you must initialize it to 0. So other than it's just very good programming style, is there's nearly always marks for it. So again, like I told you guys last time, this is also bonus marks. If you know you have to do a calculation, let's say you have to do sum or average or max or min or whatever, and you've got no idea how to do it, creating the variable and initializing it to 0 will most probably already give you a mark. So by just doing that and then displaying that variable could give you 2 marks without you doing any calculation. So if you go like total there, and then you just say, let's say show message, and you just say your int to string of total, most probably by doing this, it could give you 2 marks without you actually calculating the total at all. So please, as I said last time, never leave any question unattempted. So in an arrays question, if they ask you total and you've got no idea, or what, because whatever they ask, if they ask a range or median or something way out that you've got standard deviation, and you just think, oh, I can't even do that in math, so I must do it in IT. Go create a variable, initialize it to 0, display it, and because it's an array, create your for loop. And you know there's 9 things in the array, so from 1 to 9. For you doing this, you will most probably already get 3 marks, and you've done nothing else. So you've got no idea how to do this difficult thing they're asking. But then these things are marks. Initializing is a mark. Knowing there's a for loop involved is a mark. Knowing that you have to display is a mark. And if you needed to extract something, like ask the user something or get something from an edit box, if you do that, that could be another mark even. So you could get like 4 marks for initializing, extracting, looping, displaying. And then you've got still maybe no idea what they even asked, but it doesn't matter. You're getting those marks. So try to always at least do this, irrespective of what's happening. Never not have enough time to at least do this. Go through the whole paper, make sure question 4's last question, 4.11, if there's 11 sub-questions, you at least still do these things because it's bonus marks. All right, but in any case, yes. So tell me again. So I've got total, I created a for loop for you and I displayed it. But so how do I actually calculate the total now? Perfect. All right, and that's how we get total. So if I now wanted to get the average, let's assume I didn't do total and I want the average. What would I do? Do you agree we needed to do the total? So I'll just add it there again because I'm assuming we didn't do this. Okay, so we assume no total was done. So they didn't ask total, we just want to do this. So then we're just going to say here. Yeah, once you tell me, how do I create the average? Okay, so where do I do that? In the for loop. Sorry. So, sorry, inside the for loop or outside? In the for loop, you mean? So how many times do you want to do the division? Do you want to do it 9 times? So you basically just ask yourself that question. How many times do I want to do the divide? And it's only once, do you agree? So that means it should be after the for loop. So get your total, and then after the for loop. All right, what do I say? Average, yeah. Divide by 9. And that's it. Okay, let's quickly test these two. Alright, so the total is 127. Average 137. What we draw? Oh, I display total. I should display average. Float to string. Alright, so this should work good. Now, just to make it interesting, they could maybe ask you display the provinces with above average disasters. Let's say only. So we only want to display the provinces that have above average disasters. What would we do? Assume nothing was done. So let's assume none of these two were done. So if they ask us to display, only display the provinces with above average disasters. Who wants to give me an idea? What do you think? What can we do? That is going to die. Okay, so what would be your first step? What do you want to do? Okay. Okay, so we go for I is 1 to 9. Yeah. If. Okay, so I said here, assume nothing was done. So you would have calculated the average first. No, so it's fine. So yes, so you agree you would have done the average first. Put total 0, worked out the total, then divided by 9 to get the average. Okay, yes, then if that is greater than the average, yes. Yeah. Then we'll do a normal display there. All right, let's see how this looks. Okay, so we get that. All right, so the total is 127. The average is 14.11. So then these three provinces were above average. All right. All right, so the question is just ASCII again. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to comment out these calculations we've done. I'm just going to add it to calculations. And then I'm just going to say highest and lowest above. So highest and lowest is above, and then all these ones we need to know. All right, the next question is ASCII. So the type of question could be, let's say stemp. Stemp. No, let's say, yeah, let's do stemp. Stemp. So question could be, ask user for a word, then move each character up by 2 characters. All right, so we want to ask user for a word, and then if he said A, then we want to say C. So if his word is used was ABC, then we want to show him CDE, for argument's sake. Okay, then input word example apple. All right, let's say that's the word. Okay, but we'll obviously ask the user. So now what we want to do is each of these characters, we want to just move up 1. All right, so do you agree we want to go character by character? So because we want to go character by character, what do you think we need? Have a look. And I want to start at the first character. And we want to go to the length of a stem. So now what we want to do is stemp at position I, because remember stemp, a string is basically an array of characters. So the first character must get the value. Okay, wait, let's change this. just to first maybe just show you. So itemp, let's give itemp the, let me just see. Ordinal value of stemp at I. Then let's do show message. Our int. So just to see what happens, let's quickly just change each of the characters to his integer value and then just show them. So let's see what happens if we put in, if we run this thing. I can just click this one. So let's just say A, just A. So we get a value of 65. So A in our ASCII code, if we Google it, you'll see capital letter A is 65. And the small letter A is 97. So that's the ASCII value of that character. But you can say anything, like if you put the letter plus in there, it's got an ASCII value of 43. If you put the number 1 in there, it's got an ASCII value of 49. So that's ASCII. Each character, even if you go spacebar, it's got an ASCII value of 32. So each symbol has got its own ASCII value. So what we want to do is, we want to take the character, get the integer value for it. Then what we can maybe do is our itemp must become whatever itemp was, but plus 2. So you give it the integer value, then we add 2 to it. And then our stemp at position I, so this first one we took, we want to then just do this. So we want to do CHR of item. So CHR does the reverse of that. It takes that one and then puts it in there. And when we're done with this, then we just want to show message our stemp. So let's see what happens. So I'll explain that just now again. So let's say if we take the letter A, small a, then I see the letter small c. So now you can go a whole word like apple became CRRNG. So 2 after an E is a G, apple, and an L, 2 letters after an L is an N. And yeah. So that is what it does. So ort of a character. Just importantly, you must only extract the character. You can't put a string in there. So you must take one character. Ort of it gives you an integer value. Then you can do whatever you want to with that integer value. And then if you CHR an integer value, then it gives you a character again, which you can display. Yeah. Right. I don't know if this sort of with this. So this is one way of doing it with that, if they ask this question. Obviously, what you could have also done, remember I did mention to you that you can also sort of cheat it in a bit. So if we had a string variable alpha. So if you create your own string, only thing is with this one to work nicely, they have to sort of give you a limit as to where it is, because it would be difficult to put in all letters. But like in the alphabet, then you can say you have to put all those letters. Obviously, I have to make one for capital letters as well. But then if you knew it's going to be small letters, or even if it's like, they would have told you what a Z should become, but then you could have also just go ABC. Okay, so you could have just added both alphabets in there if you wanted to. And then sort of do the same thing where you can loop through the word from one. So let's just say that is the ASCII version. But then you can still also use it for that. You create this, and then you go from 1 to the length of our stem. And now what you need to do is, you also take each character at a time, but you have to look where is it. So you maybe use your item to get the position of stamp I, to get that character's position inside the alphabet. So find out where it is. Then you'll still do the same thing if you wanted to move it on to. So then you just add 2 to that position, and then you can just say same thing where stamp at I then gets the value of is of the alphabet at position item. So you look where's that character in the alphabet, add 2 to the position, then take the character at that position from the alphabet and put that into a stamp. And then you can still show it. So if you did this, let's just quickly test it. So if we use our Apple, we still have our CRRNG. So same thing. So if you create your own alphabet variable and using position, and then using that thing also to with a position in conjunction, then you didn't need to know this. So, and that's why I said, yeah. So this is a nice to know because it's another way of doing it. And it looks a little bit more straightforward. But if you sort of keep track of what's happening here, finding the position of that character in there, adding 2 to the position, then giving that value from the alphabet at that new position, extracting that character from there, and putting it in there, it does exactly the same thing. So generally with ORT and CHR, there are ways to cheat it, if I can say it like that, whenever you need to use them. But knowing them gives you another option. If this thing is not working lekker or it's a bit confusing, or there's too many, if they want like numbers in as well, then it becomes a bit tricky maybe. Then, yeah, obviously this is a nice other way of doing it. So the question is, let's say you want to convert a hexadecimal number to a decimal number. So in that case, it's not that straightforward. They'll give you the algorithm for it. It's not something you need to know out of your head. But you might need to know. I'm just trying to think what to actually ask it, because it might pop up in question 1, maybe. Okay, so how that would work, let's just comment this one out quick. Right. So you definitely need if statements or switch case to just convert each one of them. So okay, let's say we leave This is Oscar again. Hexadecimal to decimal. Alright, let's have ask that. So question 1, if we input your hexadecimal example 1 to C. Alright, so again, we'll need to go character by character. So we'll need this again. We'll need to go through each character to see how that would work. And then for this, we'll probably need to have I'm going to use the total variable. So we'll need to initialize this to 0. So now we have to take each one of them, convert them to the integer value, and then depending on its position, we might need to multiply it by 16 point and then the power. So there's a little bit of knowledge behind this. I hope all of you can remember. What this would do, this actually boils down to a 1, this first one, times 16 to the power of 2 plus the 2 times 16 to the power of 1 plus the C, which is 12 times 16 to the power of 0. Remember, you work basically from the right hand side, so that's got a power of 0, 1, 2. If there was a number now, if there was a 4 in front, that would be a 4 times 16 to the power of 3 plus. So you go 0, 1, 2, 3, and then take that number times it by 16 to the power of whatever those numbers are. So they'll most probably give you an example like this also just to remind you this is how it works. But so what we need is we need each character separate and the integer value of it. So we'll need to loop through it. Then we'll need to go if. So now you'll have a lot of if statements actually. So if your stemp at position I is equal to an A. This will most probably be capital letters though. But you can even say uppercase. Uppercase of stemp. Position I. If it's equal to an A, then our itemp is equal to 10. And then you can go else if, and then you do this again, else if it's a B, then it's an 11. So this we have to just do for all of them. So we need to check if it's an A or a B or a C. It's 12. C, D, E, and F. So it's 12, 13, 14, 15. So if it's not one of the alphabet letters, so then we can just go else itemp is just our string to int of itemp of stemp at I. Okay, so that would be your step 1. By looking if it's any alphabet letter, giving it its integer value, And obviously if it's not an alphabet letter, just make whatever, if it's a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, make it that one. So now we've got the value, and remember we're starting in front. Okay, now the trick comes in to get, so we've got this first value, but we need to multiply it by 16 to the power of something. All right, but can you see it's a 3, then a 2, then a 1, then a 0. But we've got our for loop, which is 1, and then 2. For loop would be 1 here, then 2 there, then 3 there, then 4 there. So we have to sort of see how can we, if 1 should be 3 and 2 should be 2, so it sort of decreases every time. But if you see the relationship between it, let's quickly just want to create another variable for us to make our life a bit easier. Let's just create a power variable, iPower. Right, is everybody still with me what I've done so far? Or any questions so far? Alright, I assume everybody's good. Alright, so we've got that. So now our iPower. Does somebody have an idea here before I just put the answer? Somebody wants to take a guess. How can we get now so that it's a 3, then a 2, then a 1, then a 0? But obviously if there was another number there, it should have been a 4 and then a 3, 2, 1, 0. So it should adapt depending on how long this thing is. Okay, can you see where the 3 came from? It is the length of our stemp, which is 4, but then just subtracting I, because I is 1. So if we take the length minus 1, we get the 3. And if we take the length minus 2, we get the 2. And if we take the length minus 3, we get the 1. And the length minus 4, we get the 0. So the power is always just the length minus wherever we are in this thing. Alright, then our total must just be whatever the total was, plus, so that does the plus, 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 plus for us. Now we must just do this equation. So it is the item times, and then we need to do 16 to this power. So how do we do power? What is the function again to do something to the power of something else? Yes. Oh, you know what? I think our problem here is, okay, let me just change this number. This one. I think the problem is that we're using integers. Let's just say decimal. So let's not use total. Let's use the variable decimal. So decimal is 0, and then this must just be decimal is whatever decimal was. Oof, let's just see. Okay, they didn't add maths, so we need maths. Okay. Okay, so decimal is whatever decimal was, plus then the item times the power of, it's the base and then the power. So the base is 16, and our power is now the iPower. That's it. All right, let's quickly see if this Oh, then let's just, after the for loop, let's just do a show message. Show message the stamp plus BK. Of decimal. Okay, let's see what this does. It's actually a big number, but let's see how it looks. So that's that. We can actually test it, but let's make it a bit easier. If we just say 111, so there should be, or if we just say 2 ones, that's because that's 16 plus 1, so it should be 17 is the answer. Yeah, 17. And that's how you do a decimal. So key things, I don't know if you sort of listened as to how I approached it. Create a variable, just where we're going to put the answer in, initialized it, asked the user for his number, and then we thought, look at the example, and we saw, okay, we need to do a maths equation with each character individually. So that meant for loop, and getting each character individually, and we're not caring about capital letters. And then if it was a normal number, we want to keep it as is. But if it was an alphabet letter, we needed to convert it to an integer. So that's what we've done. Just remember, you needed to do them first, and you couldn't do this one first. Because this one would have then, if you tried to look at the A, it would have given you error. So you first had to exclude all strings before you tried to convert. But now doing this, we've got all the individual numbers. Then we saw that 16 was fixed, but there was a power, and then the number became 3210. So we needed to look, how does that pattern work? And they will see, oh, the pattern basically goes reverse of this. So what we needed to do was, we just used the length of it and subtracted the I from it. So that the first value gets the 3. Second value gets a 2. Third value gets the 1. Fourth value gets the 0. And then just did the equation, which just our number we had, the first piece, times the power of 16 to the power of the power that we worked out. And we needed to add all of them together. So it just was our decimal plus decimal, or decimal becomes whatever decimal was, plus, and then this equation. And we just displayed it at the end. And that's it. So this is actually, I would say, crazy difficult. So initializing would definitely be one. Asking for input might be one, maybe not. For loop would definitely be one. Doing this piece probably give you about 2 to look at all the different options. 2, maybe 3. Working out this would be 1. Doing that 1. Displaying 1 was probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe about 7 marks. So, but the key thing is, look where it's assigned. Initializing is 1. Knowing for loop, that's 2. Knowing display is 3. If you knew the if part, that's another 2. Or if you just knew how to do the power, that's another mark. Or if you just sort of saw that it's this thing to the power of that thing, so doing that part basically would probably be another mark. So this would probably be a 7 to 8 mark question. But there's a lot of method marks pieces. So with this one, this is actually quite difficult. This would be, I want to say this would be your level 4 question in the paper. So this would be like the one for the top students. But what I'm showing you, even if you're not aiming for a 95 and 90, if you just want the 80, this question is maybe not meant for you, but there's so many marks. You could get at least 50%, at least 4 marks out of the 8 by doing easy stuff and saving a lot of time. You could get that 4 marks spending less than a minute on it and moving on. And end of paper only lost 4 out of the most difficult question, and then still get your 96%. Because so yeah, so this is definitely a higher order question, but doable, or getting close to it at least. And then when you're done, you just come and you play around and never delete anything. If you realize you didn't want to do this, comment it out. Like when you did, if we did this thing where we needed to convert character, if you tried this OR part and it didn't work, comment it out. If you want to keep pieces of it, comment it out, copy it, paste it, and then go change. But leave it there and go change. Depending on what question it is and who's your marker, you could get method marks there. Alright, I think my battery is going to die like in the very, very, very near future.